What is up, winning team? I'm here to discuss with you all Jezebel, pride, and tolerance, okay? Now, and unrepentance. Now, the reason why I'm out and about and rather than indoors where I could really be right now is because of what I was talking about in my previous video with the whole sleep thing. Go and check that out if you want to know. But anyway, I just need to be rejuvenated by the very earth that the Lord created. Okay, so that's why I'm sitting on the grass and getting the fresh air and feeling rejuvenated. Anywho, so the thing about Jezebel, right, is she's a master at this game of life, right? Other people, other chosen ones of the kingdom of darkness, right? This is why I think it's funny how in Christianity we talk about many are called but few are chosen. Yeah, the devil does the same thing. The devil is a copycat. And that's actually something where we should actually start with all of this. The devil is a copycat, and he copies by always doing things the non-godly way, right? So in this case, he has to have his own kingdom, his own Holy Spirit, his own everything. Now, we all have heard of the Antichrist, right? And we all know that obviously he sees himself like God, or at least he's trying to create that for himself on earth. That's what I'm saying. It's basically like, right? You know what the devil's like? He's like the difference between Gordon Ramsay, the chef, right? And that would be God in the situation. And then the devil is like, us, those little, I always wanted one of these when I was a kid, and I don't think I ever had one, I'm not sure. But the mini kitchen sets that kids have where the food is all made of plastic and it's all fake? One of those. That's like the devil's difference. That's like the difference of him doing what he's doing on earth in the natural world and what God, the level to which God can operate in the spiritual. But it all comes down to human choice and human will. And this is where we come into this whole thing to do with Jezebel, right? And tolerance and pride and unrepentantness. Because the big thing that stuck out to me about this season is, you guys will know that when I had this vision, I had a few months, like just after my birthday, and I saw death. Of people, I was crying and praying for this. I was like, guys, pray for our enemies, pray for our enemies, pray for our enemies, right? In the hopes that these people would actually turn around and, go and receive the Lord, that there would be justice so far by now with the Diddy trial, the Epstein thing, and all of this. Now, I obviously never put my trust in the world, and I do believe that there actually would be nothing more gangster for the Lord to just let the world run its course, of course always being in the side of favor of destruction, and then him coming in after the fact to have to deal with once again the freaking mess we made, right? And again, just like the kitchen analogy, perfect analogy there. It's like cooking with the child, right? After they might have cooked something and they might have done their little best, but it looks like a bomb went off. And you're like, let's clean as we go, right? But we're not, because we're like children. So anyway, so what I'm now realizing is that like Jezebel in all of this, her key thing, okay, sorry. I don't know why I keep getting distracted. I literally come to sit with the bees on purpose. Anyway, Jezebel, see, I love creation. Listen to this. And I was so distressed about an hour ago trying to sleep. This is more restful than any sleep I think I can get at this current stage. But more about that in the previous video. Anyway, so the airplane. You see, even in the world, we're just copying God, copycats. That's what I'm saying. Rather than being haters, just be appreciators, be inspired, and humble thyself before the Lord. You know what I'm saying? Rather than pretend, oh, is God real? Is God this, whatever, and then still having to copy his own intelligence by how we have airplanes and how we can have these giant ships on the water. Let's just all humble ourselves. And this is something that comes with Jezebel. It's the pride aspect. And I never realized, you guys, how problematic pride really is. And I'll tell you something, it's actually the male community that made me realize, because a lot of them live emotionally constipated due to pride, right? And the emotional constipation, I believe, is what kills them, and why a lot of them die from heart-related issues. I know that's deep, right? So I've realized that she and how she's operating with all of this and doing whatever they're doing, obviously it's gonna take, like the devil's tricks, they never change. He started out doing his things in secret. He continues to do his things in secret. he will forever, right? And the unrepentantness was the part that I didn't realize, because Marcus Rogers, who's the one who brought this up in a post that he made, and I might read it for you guys when I do decide to head back into the inside of the house. What I would give, by the way, to have a nap on the grass, I think I would actually sleep really well. Anyway, so what was I saying? Unrepentant. He was talking about how Jezebel is very much unrepentant, because she also died unrepentant. What was she doing? She was sitting there on the balcony, doing her makeup, adorning herself with jewelry, preparing herself for her daily seductive antics, right? And it made me realize that this is where the pride element aspect comes into it, because she herself is already so prideful, right? And we all want to believe better in ourselves than what's real. And the problem is, that's what pride is actually in and of itself. And then, of course, as a result of our disability of humbling ourselves before the Lord, instead, what we end up doing is making excuses in pride, right? It's the what you call it? The unrepentantness. It's the tolerance that comes with Jezebel. So we now tolerate things that shouldn't be tolerated. Because as I was saying in the previous video before this one, that it's like I realize that adults in general, Christians or not, everyone has a tendency to defend things they are guilty of, but condemn things they are not. And that's my problem with the judgment in this world and with Christians, because Christians love to make all these statements about, and we don't do this, and we don't do that, and we don't do this, and we don't do that. I don't do this, I don't do that, all of this. And that's what makes me laugh about all these pastors and preachers talking about lust is a sin and fornication is all of this and this, that, and the third, because you're putting on a performance, been married for 25 years to the mother of the house, right? Meanwhile, you're the one who's porking boys behind the scenes. But anyway, so this is what I'm saying again. It's the pride, because you cannot humble yourself and deal with within you whatever it is that is leading you to do that. Like, this is what it's like with the Lord when, like, he's convicting me about stuff. He's like, we need to talk about why you're even thinking about doing this, or why you even do that in the first place. You know what I mean? And it's a very humbling and ugly process. You know what I mean? When I have to realize that, oh dear, I'm just another slave like the rest of them. I'm just another slave like the rest of them. And I even told you guys about this, like just before I went to Italy, how I was asking God, like, God, how is it that people in the world are just able to just, do this and do this? And he was like, because why are you able to just do that? Because you're a human. And I was like, oh yeah, there it is. And so this pride thing, it sets it up perfectly for Jezebel, because now all she has to do is swoop in as the voice of tolerance. And that's where, like, being a female voice is really a serious weapon. And it's actually funny, because this new song I've been listening to, and he's saying in the lyrics, if God is a woman, then God is a weapon. And I thought, yeah, that's why it's been keeping me up. And I've had to avoid listening to it today. Otherwise, we would not be here, because I would just be playing it on repeat. But it's true, because it's a weapon, right? And the best kinds of weapons, this is why I feel like it's funny how, men kind of take pride, again, in, like, their physical abilities, you know what I'm saying? And being, the muscle and whatever, right? And that's great. We love it. Look, I love it myself. I love it. I've told you guys, I was out here simping like heck, sitting in my garden, drinking a cup of tea in the little season where there was all the tradesmen all doing things, building, landscaping, doing all of this. I was loving my life. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that I'm not in favor of it, but what I've realized is the worst types of warfare are not the physical warfares of this world. It's not the physical, somebody hitting you. It's not being stabbed. It's not being shot, right? It's the warfare that kills you from the inside, just like a snake, right? Or even a spider. It doesn't just hurt you on the outside and cut your leg off or, break a rib, right? It infects your entire bloodstream. And therefore, on a spiritual level, your bloodline. And this is why Jezebel has been getting on with this, and why people are struggling, because we keep just reliving these situations. And then we talk about generational curses and generational trauma and all of this. And for what? When we cannot humble ourselves, we tolerate things, we make excuses, we pick and choose. Like I said, I realized that adults in general choose, oh, I don't do this, and I'm going to feel prideful about the fact I don't do this, right? And I'm going to judge you. Like I said to you guys, I'm not somebody who's big on sugar. I'm not somebody who likes to eat things that are sweet at all. I am very much a sour, salty, spicy, savory girly. Like, I literally put lemons in the freezer that I then eat in the middle of the night. Okay. When I am in the mood for, something. So I could, if I was going to be like the adult population, sit here in judgment and be pointing the finger out like, and you guys are all slaves to sugar, because that is how it looks. I can't even lie, right? But I have to humble myself and remember that I might not be a slave to that, but I am a slave to other things. You see what I'm saying? Other things that I have to work on within myself, and I have to humble myself. But the problem is, and this is the problem with the jury of the sheeple, which again makes it perfect for Jezebel, as long as she can deceive you all enough, is the community of the world, what I realized is the way the justice system actually works in this world, in society, is if enough people come together and agree on something, then we just accept that that's the accepted thing. Hold on a second. So, like, I'll give you guys a perfect example, right? Children should be seen and not heard. As long as we all say that, even though it's, first of all, unbiblical, because actually they are the most dependent of everyone. So they are the ones we should see and hear the most. Part of the reason, you guys, I've become such an advocate for children is because of listening to them. And I'll never forget, you guys were here for this, at this other job, right? Where I was working with this poor young boy, right? He's like 11. Such a precious kid, right? And I've been given page after page after page what the school thinks, what the psychiatrist thinks, all the different diagnoses that this kid has, and how these are all the reason why he's struggling in school, right? Now, I did what I technically shouldn't have done, which is I didn't study what they sent me. I skimmed through it. I understood what I needed to understand. And then I just decided I'll just hear him out about his reasoning for his experience, right? And so I just asked plain questions like, how do you find school? What is it that you like about school? What is it that you don't like about school? Whatever. And after about 6 weeks it took, right? He then eventually kind of opened up, and you know what I mean? And he looked like he was about to cry. And you know what he said? If school was more like this, I would love going to school. And the reason why he wasn't in school is because he just left, basically. He just kept leaving. And his reasonings for doing it were things that I couldn't disagree with. Why am I staring at a TV or sitting in a chair for 6 hours every day? I agree. Why are you sitting there? Because that's why I want to homeschool. Because I'm thinking we need to be up and about. You think we won't be out doing things, out in nature, around the world? I hated geography at school. Screw sitting here staring at a map when I can get on a plane, right? So I was understanding where he was coming from. And then also he's pointing out some illogical things. Like, I'm teaching him all the rules of English, which I'm never doing again. By the way, I guess I'll have to an extent. I'm teaching him the rules of English and all this. And he's like, well, how come it's one rule for this and one rule for that? How come we say, all these different words, but we just all went along with it? This is what I'm saying. Because the adult population just all goes along with it. We all go along with, like, the word colonel is another great example. The word colonel. There's all these words that we don't even say them how they're spelled, but then you tell the kids that they need to say the words how they are spelled, and they need to learn how to sound out this and do their phonics and their suffixes and their verbs and their adverbs, and now they're all onto the pronouns, but they're not even logical. And now you're going to look at the child as a delinquent for calling out that this doesn't make sense. This is why I like to talk to kids, because they see life in black and white. All these issues that we're having as adults, which are all a result of pride, might I add, pride, they're not having. Because if you just talk to them, they just get it. And then there's always the parents and the other teachers being like, I don't know how you do this. You must be doing something special. No, all I'm doing is hearing them. And that's exactly what he said. And he wasn't the first. Happened to me many times throughout the years. He said, I just, something to the effect of, I just feel like nobody was listening to me, and that broke my heart. These things, they break my heart, and this is why I have so much fury for Jezebel, because of her and the rest of the kingdom of darkness, right? He was never heard. And yet what have the adults said? And even I felt that as a child. Children should be seen and not heard. And I just want to say this to be very important, because I know, again, in the world, people tend to always comment from their own trauma only. And some of my comments are my own trauma, but majority of them are vastly at large in the world. Because actually, one thing I will say for my parents, for both of them, is they were definitely both people that I feel like actually listened. Made me feel like I was heard. You know what I mean? They made me feel like I was heard. I remember, like, there was even situations like in church with my dad where people were just saying stuff about me, and some of them I do think he believed, even though they weren't true. But then also a lot of times you could just kind of tell that, well, I don't think she did that. Like, even my mum at school, I had this thing. This is why I wasn't well behaved, but I didn't get in a lot of trouble. I had this thing with my mum. I don't know what led me to decide to do this, but I decided that if I get in trouble, I'm just going to tell my mum the full truth of what happened, entire truth. And the thing is about that was that, so then when the teachers would call, like, we're going to call your mum, I'm like, call her. She already knows. And then also because she listened to me when I told her about my different teachers and how they were, when she would then meet them, I'd bring her to the parents' evening, which I think you guys call parent and teacher conference in the States, if I'm not mistaken. That is the cutest thing ever. A mum on her bike with her daughter in the front. Oh my gosh. And they were both just there beaming at me. That was so adorable. But yeah, and so, you know, when she would come, and this meant everything to me, right? When she would come to see my teachers, and I would school her before each teacher, this teacher so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. After the fact, she was like, yeah, she's right. You're right. You know, even for my brother, like, because obviously, bless his heart, and I hate to be the one, but, you know, he is, again, someone that was a victim. It's always the young men as well in the school system. There's a lot of weird female teachers with weird energy when it comes to the young guys who kind of just want to crush them, especially if they are intelligent and charismatic. They don't like that, right? They don't like that. A lot of teachers, because I feel like it's jealousy and it's pride, because you're there thinking, how are you finding this so easy? Meanwhile, you're not even behaving. And it definitely affects the young men more than it affects young women like myself, for some of the reasons I'm saying, because I was just good at articulating what was happening and obviously doing the woman thing of just running my mouth. And obviously my brother's not going to defend himself, or a lot of guys are not going to say anything. Again, they're going to internalize things instead of externalizing them. And so my brother would get into these situations where, like, and we've always established that, like, he can tell me the truth. And I told him, always tell me the truth of anything, because I would never want you to go through something alone. Like, I'll never judge you for anything. And so I remember he told her the truth a few times in school, where he had been falsely accused by some teachers. And thank the Lord that I went to the same school as him, so I knew what the situation was, right? And a few times he'd got into a lot of trouble, and the teachers had lied on his name. And it was actually because of my mum that that she believed him. It was the fact that she believed him. And parents have asked me throughout the years what they should do. Like, what are they supposed to do with their child, because they don't know what's wrong. And it literally, before even the last couple of years, guys, while I was still living in London, before I even knew you guys, I would always say, if your child says something to you, believe them, right? So I'm telling you that on a grander scale, outside of even just my life, I've seen it in the world. And yet somehow the adult population came together to decide that children should be seen and not heard. The future of tomorrow. The future of tomorrow. Because these are the questions I've been having to some of this older population recently. Now that we're going all guns blazing, is who do you expect to actually have the ability to look after you when you behave this way? But anyway, we're not going to get into that in this video. All to say, these are the things that are the works of Jezebel, the tolerances of, like, or I feel like is the works of Jezebel. Obviously, guys, take things to the Lord for yourself. Like tolerance of just illogical ways of doing things and just things that are actually detrimental to us in society. But for the sake of pride, because obviously I get why parents are in so much pride, because it is one of the hardest jobs in the world, I believe, after being married, right? So of course, all of us now love working and love having a job, and all of us ladies are loving like having a career. I was there being my own boss babe, CEO myself in the city, right? Loving life, right? Loving it. Because it's obviously easier, because once I finish work, I pop down to go and buy myself some sushi, some champagne. I'll have strawberries dipped in chocolate, head home, throw on some videos in the house by myself. You know what I mean? Not needing to look after nobody else. And of course, that was an attractive way of living at the time. And it wasn't because I didn't want to have kids. What I'm trying to say is, it is the most difficult job, and it is the most easiest job to critique. So I'm not trying to say I don't get why adults walk in so much pride, but it's like, how about instead of being so prideful, humble thyself? But then we've normalized it. So again, what have we societally normalized? Oh, children are the problem. The younger generation, we're going to be the ones wiping you people's asses in the next 30, 40 years. Yeah, you know when that circle of life thing happens and you like become like a baby again, but it's just that now you're like however many decades old, and you need somebody to help you, and you need somebody to look after you, and somebody to love you when you're difficult to love. It's going to be us. So that's why I'm like, the dumbest thing that's happened is that the adult population has not fully invested in their children. And that's why I believe the Bible says children are a heritage, like having many arrows in your quiver, is it called? I don't know. They are a heritage. They are a gift, right? Because this is the thing that gets missed. And then you see the freaking YouTubers whose parents are crazy enough to, you know, try and support them and try and be understanding, being bought like million pound, $1 million houses as gratitude. Because that's the other thing. I'm like, why does the older population seem so obsessed with like needing to enforce gratitude? Like, you guys should be grateful because we brought you into this world. Of course we're going to be freaking grateful. You think that we grow up to be adults and we don't think about all these different things. Every single meal that I ate growing up, every single time there was clothes on my back, roof over my head, every single time, you know, like I just said about my own parents backing me up, well, my mum in particular in this case, you know, having my back. You think I'm not thinking about that, and you think that you're not the first people on the list of if the Lord blesses me. That's why when I know that for myself, I know that I can't be the only one. So when I'm hearing the rhetoric and the narratives of the adult people of today talking about my generation like they are demons, do you know what made me cry earlier this morning? And I actually cried. That Bible sales are at an all-time high, and guess who's the ones buying it? Generation Z. I think it was in 2024 in, I can't remember which was which, but they were both really close. The number of Bibles being bought went up by 22%. I think it was 22% in the States, and no, 22% here, and I can't remember how many in the States, right? And it was predominantly Gen Z. And it was crazy how Gen Z. That's one of those things that boggles me again when it comes to the English language, because I learned English in America. I learned my alphabet in American English. So then living here, sometimes it's just words and things like the aluminum, schedule, where I'm just like, oh gosh, who's just changing the rules casually? And then the next thing, you guys all want to act like all this English is all intelligence if you can do good English. Meanwhile, Riz has been added to the dictionary. But anyway, this is the sun moving, you see? The sun's going west, because I basically am sitting right where I can see where I live, and the sun is moving, it's going west. What was I saying? Hold on. I remember. So what I was saying is that, you know, I believe it's because the younger people are teachable. They're very teachable. Kids are teachable. They don't have a lot of attention span. They don't listen to for the first time or the second time or whatever. And that's because they don't get it yet. You know, they're just kids. They're just figuring things out for the first time. That's why, again, this whole phrase of, oh, the adults are living for the first time. Yeah, well, so are those same kids that you're talking about as if they're demons. And again, we've normalized that if it is a If it's a, what do you call it? Why is a dude looking at me from his car? Please do not look in my direction. If it's an adult, right, and we've got to hold an adult accountable for anything, pride kicks in and it's, oh, we're all living for the first time. But when it's a child, it's, how did you not figure this out right the first way? How come you guys are so problematic? The problem with this generation, the problem with this generation, the problem with this generation. Listen, the last time that I heard that phrase and it just set me off, I was like, you know what? Let's see what the problem is really with this generation and what problem is with which generation at this point, because it's come to the conclusion that the problem is not with the younger generation. They're more teachable. This is why they're taking on the Bible. Even this is why they're teachable when they feel that you're respecting them, and not even respect but love. This is what I feel like. If you ask me the secret source of all this stuff that I've done and how, oh, I can teach the kids algebra and other people can't teach the kids algebra, and I always use algebra because that's the topic everybody complains about and it's my favorite area of all of maths and science. Okay, that's a stretch. Also quantum, but algebra is the one that I just find really easy. And it's like the only thing I do differently to anybody else is I just hear them. But then, like I said, it's the tolerance, it's the excuses, it's the pride, it's the normalities of it all, right? Who's going to be more prepared in this season? Do you know what's been one of the funniest things for me is I have been saying to so many older people that they should start social media. And I've actually helped a couple of them to start either YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I know I don't use TikTok and Instagram really to post, but I know how to do it if I wanted to. It's just not my bag. And it's so funny how these adults, I have to go full-blown teacher mode. Because when I'm saying these adults, I'm talking about like 20 plus years older than me. At first, they again in pride, like, oh, this is going to be so easy. This is going to be so easy to just upload videos and to just upload videos on the internet. Like, it can't be that hard, right? And bearing in mind, I'm uploading videos where I'm just here casually sitting and just talking. And then I'm going to walk into the house, type in the video title, hit upload. And when I'm ready to publish it, and I'm not even going to pick my own thumbnail at this point, right? I'll pick the least offensive one that's already in the automated thumbnails, which, again, if you're not a content creator, you don't even know what I'm talking about. And so I'm teaching them, right? And they are so much harder to teach. Even when I had to teach, I've taught a few, again, adults, grown adults. I've had to teach them because even though they did their degrees and they're all paying off their mortgages and having everything to say about the younger generation, they're still in their 40s, 50s, looking for, like, being promoted, but realizing that the current level of mathematics that they have is not good enough for the promotion level. And so they need who other than a delinquent, a heathen, problematic member of the Gen Z community to teach them. And they're honestly so much harder to teach. They're so stuck in their ways. This is why, again, Moses' generation not making it to the promised land. I get it. Like, they're so difficult to teach. And it's and especially with the YouTube thing and the social media thing, it's the shocking part for me, or it's shocking and saddening, is them actually being shocked at how hard it actually is. Because I'm now the one sitting there for 2-3 hours while it takes them 2-3 hours to edit a 60-second video. And they're looking at me with embarrassment. And I'm like, that's the pride within you, because you really just thought this was going to be so easy. And then I've even had them say, like, you really are a great teacher and you really have so much patience. I'm like, I know, I really do, because that's what the people need. I'm not, and you know what I'm saying? And this is what I'm saying. It's just all bothering me, all of this stuff, because I'm just, everything that I'm observing and all of this, and like, it's the tolerance. That's what I'm saying. It's the tolerance. If we all come together as adults in pride and we all decide that something is acceptable, then we all go with it, whether that thing is actually good for us or not. Because I was thinking, if more of the older generation right now would actually work collaboratively with us than defensively, we would be unstoppable as a team. You know, but I have to bear my heart out on the internet, on YouTube, and I have to make myself look like an idiot, and I have to say uncomfortable things, and I have to put myself up for the slaughter by the jury of the sheeple by being honest, because we live in such a world that is so tolerant now, at least in the West, of just the wrong things. And it all goes back to Jezebel. It all goes back to Jezebel and how she operates, and her and that whole thing. Right? Because it's always the seduction of like, oh, but we can just say this. And then if we all just say this enough, oh my gosh, is this guy swinging back? please, for the love of everything, not again. The number of times men stop in their cars, either in the road or swing the cars around like actual psychopaths to speak to me, is just insane. Actually insane. Anyways, let me actually wrap this video up in case I find myself in a predicament. Anywho, so it's just sad because I'm like, we could be a team. Like, we could be a team. I'm not mad at these adults for the fact that they didn't know how to do these things, because that's something we grew up with. I grew up on the internet. I grew up kicking my legs in the United States of America, playing the Elmo game on the computer and the Dr. Seuss, the Green Eggs and Ham game. And like, you know, I grew up with it. I'm used to it. It's different, you know? And so I'm happy to help, especially because I support the businesses that these people do. I support their movements. That's exactly one of the jobs I was doing in London, by the way. I don't talk about it very much. Was consultancy. And it was always older women who had some kind of a business who I was helping to like put their business online, or, you know, just kind of diversify their thoughts and their thinking in terms of how they could achieve what they're doing, so they can expand like their businesses into other areas. And like a lot of the stuff was just really basic knowledge to me, but to them was like really, really valuable. And this is what I'm saying. In the same way that like me being in Italy with my friend, she's 55, and there's some knowledge that she has and some experiences, her and her husband, where it's just like there's so much to gain in us as a team, and that's why we work as a team. You know what I mean? So anyways, you guys, I'm going to leave that there because we've got plenty more to come about this whole Jezebel story arc. I'm just rejuvenating myself in nature right now because I need it after the last video. You guys can check it out. But I'm going to really keep honing in on this stuff, because I'm not saying this in judgment. I don't think I'm better. I just think I haven't lived long enough and been made excuses enough for to walk in pride. Who knew not having kids would be the protection that I needed? Because if I had them by now, that's the crazy thing, I would get to just ride the wave of, oh, you know, but being a parent is so hard thing. And it is hard. And this is why we need the Lord. This is why we need to humble ourselves. This is why we need to understand that we are out of our depth in this life that we are living. And we are dealing with enemies that we don't even understand, such as Jezebel, who are taking advantage of these things and taking advantage of our desire and inclination to, oh gosh, these doggies are so cute, to give ourselves excuses. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to go. Because if this dog comes over to me, you guys, I'm sorry, but it's the end for you. Yeah, if life's a game, play to it. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in my next one.